As you well know, we lost Will Smith at the age of 34, so this is going to be similar to the Sam Mills Life of a Saint podcast in that instead of speaking directly to Will, obviously, we spoke to a lot of people that surrounded Will's life and, got to know him both personally and professionally. So just a little warning, half of the people that contributed to this article back when I wrote it did it through writing, whether it was email or text me over some things or whatever. So for those, I'll put a little disclaimer that it's like an AI voice, but everything else is going to be directly from the people that knew him, whether they sent me an audio recording, a video recording, whatever it might be. But before we jump into that, let's just go over a few of Will Smith's accolades that he achieved throughout his football career before we get into the personal stuff. Okay, so some of the more notable accomplishments in his career at Ohio State, he was a national champion in 2002, second team All Big Ten, 2003, first team All American, first team All Big Ten, and Big Ten Defensive Lineman of the Year and Defensive Player of the Year. Crazy year that he improved on a national championship year, but got even better in 2003. Drafted in 2004. He was on the Pro Football Writers All Rookie team, and he co-leader of in the NFL in forced fumbles as a rookie. That's pretty impressive. Pro Bowler in 2006. That's when things really started to turn around for New Orleans. Super Bowl champion in 2009 season. Saints Hall of Famer and Saints really prestigious Saints Ring of Honor member. Really impressive career on the field. But from all accounts, from what you're about to hear, just as impressive off the field. So for the first clip I'm going to share, we're going to stay close to home. Like, you can't get any closer to home. Will's wife, Raquel Smith.
Oh my God, there's so much. He's so amazing. I mean, he's just, I don't think people even, I know people know he was amazing, but I mean, just knowing him, inside and out, it's just, I don't think people have really, really got a taste of my Will. He's just, as far as a father, I mean, he's so dearly missed, and he was an amazing father. That was probably his number one thing in life was his kids, and he always spoke with his kids, and every time he spoke with his kids, it was just like, I would just look at him and just, you could see the light in his eyes, like that was the apple of his eyes, was his children. So I would just most definitely, say that he was an amazing father. Like that was, and my kids truly, truly miss him. Truly, truly miss him a lot. Of course, he was my best friend, so, that was pretty hard. So I missed him, my best friend, and he was a great husband, and I don't know what else. He was just amazing, and he's truly missed. One thing that my kids truly miss, and they always speak of, is he would always, even the day he passed, he told my daughter before we left to go to French Quarter Festival that, he was going to grill for them. He's always grilling. He always loved this grill he had outside, and he had took the ribs out, and he was going to make some ribs for my kids, and he just loved to grill for them, and they missed that. He loved to cook, and that's one thing that I can honestly say. And the 4th of July is coming up, so of course it's his birthday, and we will probably be, having a lot of family over, and he'll be grilling out, and we bought a pool, and the kids will be enjoying themselves, and that's Will liked to entertain. He was definitely an entertainer, and he loved to have family over, and that was his greatest joy, was seeing everybody else happy. So for sure, he loved to grill, and that was the one thing. Like when he did pass. It was, I think, like, when we got back home, I just remember seeing the ribs that he took out, and it was actually molded, and it's just always in my mind, like, dang, we were supposed to come home and that night, and we would, be grilling by the pool and have the kids, and they were excited about it, probably watch a movie. He would always pick a movie for the kids, and that was his one thing he loved to do with his children.
Next up, we've got Will's defensive teammate at Ohio State, A.J. Hawk.
Will was already an established superstar when I arrived on campus at Ohio State. I noticed early on that he would go out of his way to invite us young guys to hang with the veterans all the time. He made my time special, and I know a lot of my teammates agree. I learned what a true leader looks like during my time playing with Will Smith.
Another guy who knew him pretty well during his Ohio State years, head coach Jim Tressel.
So excited that you are doing an article on Will Smith. His impact at Ohio State was amazing. As we arrived as a new staff in 2001, he was one of the first guys to embrace our vision, and he was all in with no proof, just faith. The first year was rocky, 7-5, but Will did not waver. In 2002, Will Smith emerged as a tremendous leader and as one of the finest defensive football players in America, leading us to the BCS National Championship and a 14-0 record. Everyone assumed he would enter the NFL draft. However, he had promised his grandmother that he would finish his degree, and he opted to remain for his senior year. In 2003, we narrowly missed out on another trip to the BCS title game. On the first day of practice for the Fiesta Bowl, Will stood up in front of the team and let them know that he was not leaving Ohio State without a win in the Fiesta Bowl, and each of them better prepare with that thought in mind. He led by example, despite the fact that he was ultimately going to be a first-round selection in the upcoming NFL draft. He prepared as if there was nothing more important in the world than that game. He led us to a victory, and in my mind, was one of the greatest impact players in Ohio State football history.
So from here on out, it's just his New Orleans Saints teammates. Let's start with Roman Harper.
I was always a big fan of Will Smith. From the moment I met him, his New York swagger, his Ohio State confidence, and his unique ability to win every disagreement with teammates, whether he is actually right or wrong. Yet, in his mind, he was always right. I will always be forever indebted to him because my rookie year, he introduced me to the finer things, which was the correct way to sip on a great tasting, smooth, full-bodied red wine.
Next up, another former Saint tight end, Boo Williams.
Well, my fondest memory of Will Smith is just being in the locker room, man, and just laughing and joking and just having a good time. And we always used to joke about, Arkansas was better than Ohio State, or Ohio State was better than Arkansas. And, we always carried that, college rivalry bond. Even though we never played, we wish we would have played against each other. But, Will was just a guy that was up spirit, always, a happy guy. He would give you the shirt off his back. He would definitely help anybody. And, he was a great friend of mine. And I'm glad, for the Saints to be honoring him right now because, like I said, man, Will he was a great guy, great teammate, fun to be around. And just so sad that his life had to end short. But, he's definitely going to be missed by the family, his own family, and missed by his New Orleans Saint family. So my favorite, fondest memories of Will Smith is just always being upbeat in the locker room and just being a stand-up guy, man. And I was happy to play with him for several years.
From there, we go with his former defensive line mate, Charles Grant.
My greatest memory of Will Smith was when he first got to the Saints after being drafted. A guy that loved everything about Ohio State, and nothing was better than New York. He was a young man of principle and loved his family and teammates. We shared a lot of time together earlier in his career, like trips to the Bahamas, Vegas, and a lot of other spots. He was a student of the game and a great teammate.
Next, we've got somebody who probably butted heads with Will a few times in practice, fullback Jed Collins.
Will was the type of leader that made you earn his trust. But once you did, he treated you like family.
Now we've got a Saints Hall of Fame wide receiver in Joe Horn.
When Will first came in as a rookie, I never split up receivers from DBs, from D linemen, from offensive linemen. I went out with DBs. I went out with offensive linemen. I went out with I went out with all the guys when they went to eat. Players used to go eat in groups, but I had so much love for my whole defense. I went out when they went out sometimes. So I think the relationship started with me and Will that way, and he knew the love I had for the teammates. But what to answer your question, the memory that made me that I'll never forget was after I left the Saints, after I retired from the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
They won a Super Bowl, and I think I went to New Orleans, and one night I decided to go out. I think I was talking. I mean, I think I went out to. I don't go out much, but I think the fellas wanted to go to get a drink or something at this club called. Everybody used to go there. All the players used to go there. And I kind of debated whether I should go or not because I didn't want to be in their shine. You know, they won a Super Bowl. It was, you know, the next year later. I didn't want to go out and be, amongst the crowd and act like it was, get into their shine. Well, when the players were going through, they had the VIP at the front set up. After I left the club because, really not too many people were there. I just didn't feel comfortable being there, and I went out and I stood to the side because a couple limos rolled up, and I know how the players used to do it. They come in with their entourage and the limo. So what I did, I moved to the side so no one could really see me because I didn't want to be seen. I wanted them guys to enjoy themselves and the spotlight to be on them. Cameras was around, all that stuff. Well, when Will Smith came through with his wife and his entourage, Will Smith took a veer to the left. And when he took a veer to the left, he came up to me out of the crowd, found me out of the crowd, and hugged me and told me he loved me and he'll never forget. That right there let me know that Will Smith was a real person and he cared about who cared for him. That's one. There's so many memories, but that's one memory that I'll never forget. He showed me, regardless, Joe, that you're retired, regardless, I remember what you did for this team, and I remember what you did for me, and I'll never forget it. That day, amongst people being there for him and me being on the side in the crowd, I was just a regular guy in the crowd. He came and moved everybody out the way, and he made his wife wait in the limo driver, and he hugged me and told me he loved me. He'll never forget. That made my entire year. And that's what it's about. If you play football, or after you leave the city, who remembers what you did in the time when you were there? And Will showed me that I was still loved. He showed me I was still loved by him doing that for me that night.
Another Saints teammate, another Super Bowl champion teammate, Jonathan Goodwin.
Will was a great guy, a competitor, a talker. He's one of those guys that could talk your head off about any subject that he felt passionate about. But he was always trying to hit me up for the Michigan Ohio State bets. But he ended up becoming somebody I could talk to anytime. Good friend. He is someone I would call a good friend. So. We miss him dearly. There's nothing bad I could ever say about Will Smith.
Gotcha.
Unfortunately, he's not here with us anymore. But his memory lives on, and he's definitely a guy that made the most of his time here.
Finally, we've got one more Saints teammate / Saints Hall of Famer / Saints Super Bowl champion, wide receiver Marcus Colston.
There's so many conversations that we had just kind of chilling in the sauna after practice. We both spent a lot of time in there, especially going into weigh-in days. But no, he was just somebody that, he was about as buttoned up as you could get. He's hell of a football player, obviously. He was a guy that could, get other leaders and other men to follow, his lead. And he was a New York guy, man. And we connected around that. Him being from New York is a different mindset and different mentality. I went to school in New York, so I got a chance to really kind of understand, from a New Yorker's perspective, So being two Northeast guys in the South, we were able to connect around that, man. And no, he was a guy that I looked up to a lot for the way, not only the way he played on the field, the way he led, but the way he was a man of business and a man of community.
It was great hearing all those stories from those former family members, teammates, coaches, everything like that. Which one was your favorite? Put it down in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe if you're interested in this kind of Saints history stuff. Who dat, everybody? We'll see you on the next one.